Hi guys, it's Professor Fernandez and I am here to teach you a little bit about in-text citations. Now you probably already went through the MLA lessons. There were two PowerPoint lessons with voiceover. And in the second one, there was a couple of slides talking about in-text citations, what they were and why they were important. Now here's the thing. I went through it really quickly, and so you probably didn't even realize how important they were. So I'm going to do this quick video on in-text citations, what they look like, and how they play with the citations or the works cited page, why they're important, and how you're going to use them. So I've started this Word document here, and I'm going to write some notes for you here, but what I want to do first is kind of show you what they are and what they do. So I'm going to switch screens here. And I'm going to show you a sample essay that is about Haymon Lee and Adnan Syed. You are actually going to be seeing a version of this very soon, coming up in the later part of the semester. But I'm pulling this example up because I wanted to show you how in-text citations play with the research paper. And it's one thing to show you how they look like on a screen or show you how to put them together. It's another thing to show the relationship between an in-text citation and a works cited document. So I'm going to scroll all the way down, and yes, we'll go through these nice highlighted sections in a minute. And I want to show you what the works cited page looks like. And so this is exactly what it looks like. Again, you will see a copy of this later on in the semester, but I want to show you what it looks like because there is going to be an essay that you will write way before the research paper where you'll have to know how to put a works cited together and how to do a in-text citation. So we're looking at the works cited and we see, just let's look at format really quickly. The word works cited centered at the top of the page, and there's no special formatting with it. So it's not underlined, it's not bolded, it's not italicized, it's not bigger than the other word. So you don't do 20-point font. It's regular 12-point font times New Roman. There's nothing special about it. You just have to put it in the middle of the top of the page, and that's it. Your works cited is in alphabetical order. You're probably wondering about these little dashes, and I'll tell you about those dashes in here in a minute. And they go one after the other. There's this hanging indent that you can do. And essentially what you will do with your hanging indent, I can actually put some, and actually do have some videos that shows you how to do a hanging indent in Word. It's a little bit tricky in Google Docs. It can be done. With Google Docs, you have to play with the rulers, but in Word, you can actually just highlight it and just hit hanging indent and it'll do it for you. So hanging indents or hanging indentations means that the top line of your citation is all the way to the left, and then every line in that citation is uh, indented to the right. Old school was 5 spaces. Back in my day when we had typewriters, that actually did happen. You had to count the spaces. Now it does it for you. So this is the works cited page. And why I want to start with the works cited page is that you have to do your works cited page first before you can do your in-text citations. And the reason why is that you're not going to know how to cite something in your essay until you know how it's going to look like in the works cited page. And the works cited page actually talks. It's a communication tool between the person who's reading it and the person who's writing it, saying, hey, this is where I got the information. And what in-text citations do, it says, hey, this particular sentence or this particular structure or this particular part of the paper, I got it from this source, and go to the works cited page so you can know where to find that source. And that's how they play with each other. It's a language. So like I've said before, think of MLA as a language, and this is how the language works a little bit. So I want to look at I want to look at Elizabeth Loftus' false memory here and look at how this student has used this source as an example. So let's scroll up here. And this student actually only used this source once, so I only have one example of Loftus. So here we are, we have it in green here, and let's go ahead and read this sentence. They could have also been distorted over time or by the influence of testimonies of other witnesses. They're talking about memory here, just to give you a little context. So she is citing, or this student has cited this line to Loftus. And you're probably wondering at this point, when do you cite things? This is when you cite things, when things are not your thoughts, not your words, but not your thoughts. Basic everyday thoughts like 2 plus 2 equals 4, the sky is blue, things that in general people know don't need to be cited. What does need to be cited is things that did not come from you, things that you did not find personally, as in you did not conduct the experiment, and things from other sources. Here she is citing research done by Professor Loftus on memory, and she is saying that memory could have been distorted by time or influenced by other testimonies of other witnesses. This is not something that this particular student knows. It is not common knowledge, so she's giving Professor Loftus or Dr. Loftus her due. She has done this research. She is the expert in this, right? So what the student has paraphrased the information, literally put the information in her own words, and then at the end of the sentence gave her credit. And this is how you do it. You do it by in-text citations. And it's called in-text because it's inside the sentence. It's inside the text. So you're going to open up the citation with a parentheses. You're going to put the last name and a close parentheses. Then the period goes on the outside. Again, this is an in-text citation, which means the period does not go before this here parentheses. It does not go, because if you put it before the parentheses, it's not in text. It's outside of the text or outside of the sentence. The in-text citation is part of the sentence, which means your end punctuation, which is your periods or your question marks, go outside. All right. So you're probably wondering why she used Loftus. Well, let's go back to the works cited page. So she is citing Loftus, and this is telling us as the readers or people who are looking at this saying, hey, reader, I used this source, and the source's name is Loftus. So let's scroll down back to the works cited and see if we see something called Loftus here. We do, and it's here. And so the student is saying, I got this information from Elizabeth Loftus, and the title of this article is called False Memory. I found it in the Encyclopedia of Cognitive Science. This person edited it, and this is who published it and when they published it. It was run, I actually found it in Credo Reference, which is a database that you can use, and we'll play with databases a lot during the semester. And here is the permalink where you can find it. See how it works together? So if we go back and scroll back up here where we found Loftus, that's exactly what that in-text citation is telling the reader. Hey, I got this information from this source, and the works cited is saying, hey, this is where you can find the source. And that's how they talk to each other. Let's look at another example. Now, remember those dashes? We're going to talk about these dashes here. So we have these two pieces of information that the student did not get from herself. Is not public knowledge. It's not 2 plus 2 equals 4 or 3 plus 2 equals 5. It is not the sky is blue. So this is information that she has paraphrased from other sources. So she is giving them credit. Okay. So let's look at the first one. He said it hour by hour, how he drove around in the defendant's car with Syed's phone in his possession, picked him up at Best Buy, presumably after the murder, spent most of the day in his company, and helped to bury Lee's body. Now, what the student is saying is, hey, I got this information from Koenig, and since I used her several times, I got it from this source. Let's see how that looks like in the Works Cited page. So we're looking for Koenig and timelines. Here's Koenig here, but it says cell phone log. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Here you go, timelines. So what she actually did is she did the citation, but she has more than one citation from one singular source. That's what these dashes mean. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4 sources, all from one person, Sarah Koenig. I can never say her name correctly. So with these 4 sources, she has listed them separately. Now, these did not come from the actual podcast. So if you're citing the entire podcast, there would only be one entry. She's actually citing different things from the actual website of, of Serial. So let's look at what she is citing here. She is citing the timeline here. So this is what she's citing. She's looking at this, drawing some conclusions from the timeline of this case, writing it in her essay, citing it, and then writing it in her essay. So if you have more than one source or more than one entry from the same source, you're going to put dashes first where the name goes. You're going to have a period, and then you're going to write the title of the actual thing that you're citing. Here in this case, she is citing timelines, and here's the title. She got it from right here, Timelines, January 13, 1999. She put it right here. Just going to highlight it in gray here. She put it right there. And when she's citing it, she's not putting the whole title. I want you to notice that. She's not putting the whole title of the source. She's using the first word or the first couple of words, something that identifies it. So when she's putting it in in-text citation, again, in-text is inside of the sentence, she is saying, open parentheses, Koenig is the name of the source, because you'll always put the name of the source. She puts a comma. It's the only time you'll use a comma, by the way. And then she wrote timelines in quotations because it is a title. And she only used the first word or first couple of words. She closed the parentheses and she put a period at the end because it's inside of the text, inside of the sentence. See how that works? Let's look at one more. Same type of thing, Koenig cell phone. I can actually jump to this and show you that this is what she is citing in her paper. She looked at this, drew some conclusions, and cited it. Let me go back. She cited it here. Again, we have 4 items we got from Sarah Koenig. One of them was the timeline. She's citing the cell phone log, and it's the first thing that she's citing here with Sarah's actual name here. And she put it in parentheses because it's a title. Instead of title, let's go in parentheses. And when she's citing it, she's going to put Koenig, comma, cell phone in quotations, and then those are in parentheses with a period. Don't believe me? Let's look at it. Here you go. Koenig, comma, cell phone in parentheses. And then she actually also used some stuff from the cell tower. So she has 2 sources that she's using in one section, which, you know, she's doing the most, but it works for her. Close the parentheses, period. See how that works? So let's write some notes here. We know that with in-text citations, we need to do the Works Cited page first. It tells us how to do or how to cite the information in the paper, right? So we've got to do that first. And that you can do as you're working. There's a reason why I'm making you do the research logs. The research logs helps with this. All right. Then if it is, you will always have the last name of the source, right? So remember, it's Loftus or Koenig. Then this is something you didn't see because we don't really use a lot of books with this for this project. But if you happen to be in another class and you have something from, say, like your textbook or another book, you will always have a last name and page number. And it'll look something like this. Ooh. Sorry that the lights turned off. I'm actually in a classroom and I sat down and stilled way too long. Okay. Okay, so it will look like this. Example. We know that an in-text citation starts with a parenthesis and ends with a parenthesis and a period or a question mark or whatever it is, right? If there's more than one item from the same source, we'll use dashes in the works cited page where the name goes. What else did we learn? We also learned that if you happen to use one of these particular sources, that you will actually put the name or the title of the actual source. So I am actually just going to write an example of one. And see, we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, big notes that I gave you. There's probably other things that I've said that you're going to take quick notes about. So go ahead and take those notes. So that's pretty much in-text citations for you. And I hope that this helped you for your paper. Bye, guys.